We all know them by now. A shadowy group that is shrouded by secrets. Most often than not, these cults are considered bad, especially since most members either want to harm themselves, or end up putting harm to others. But even if a cult has bad reputation, some people still want to join. For that, some cults give initiations. Whether they come from culture or a group that's just plain psychotic. Here are the craziest real-life samples of cults throughout history with such initiations. Let's start with one of the most lenient practice we have, which comes from a cult more commonly known as the family. The family was founded by a woman named Anne Hamilton Byrne in Australia in the 1960s. Let's call her Anne. To give a brief background of Anne, she had blonde hair, a soprano singing voice, and wears Chanel perfume. But her followers just loved her grey-blue eyes. According to them, Anne had eyes that looked into your soul. And why not? And Byrne believed that she was a reincarnation of Jesus. Her cult's goal was to build a perfect race through a collection of children. But where would these perfect children come from? Well, some were children of cult members themselves, while some were adopted illegally with the help of their members. When the family was first founded, there were no strict initiations. You just needed to come from a middle-class family and turn your back on your own relatives to join. Oh, and since Anne was also a yoga instructor before assuming that she was the second coming of Jesus, a cult member initially needed to like yoga too. Some of the earliest members of the family were students of Anne's yoga classes. And coming from middle-class families meant they were professionals. Because some of the earlier members of the family were psychiatrists, they were able to get illegal substances. Those illegal substances were used for initiation as the group strengthened. Remember the perfect children that Anne wanted to have? Well, as an initiation, when a child turned 14, a ceremony happened to them. The child was given LSD, a drug that causes hallucination, and was made to sit in the dark for hours and hours. Not only that, they were required to have their hair bleached blonde, and can't go outside, ever. This reign of terror ended in 1987 when the police raided their compound. Since then, Anne couldn't harm any child. You might have heard of this next organization. But if you hadn't, let us introduce you to Black Axe. Having more than 30,000 members, this cult is also known as a gang. Starting around 1977 in Nigeria, they still operate today. In fact, the Black Axe has spread to other continents like Europe, Asia, and North America. They do illegal acts like fraud, human trafficking, and murder. But how do you get initiated as a member? Also known as bamming, their initiation is brutal. An initiate is taken to the forest where he'll be stripped naked by a group of male members. The initiate will then be forced to face down on the mud. Axemen, or members of the cult, will then hit him with a bamboo pole repeatedly while hurling insults and threats to him. Once the hitting stops, the initiate will then crawl between the legs of the members, and then made to chew a caffeinated nut. Once he survives all of this, he's then welcomed into the new cult with songs, chants, and hugs. And then forevermore worship their god Korofo. Sometimes getting into a cult is fairly easy. It's the loyalty that you have to prove to the group. Like with the Ant Hill Kids. Founded in 1977 by Rock Terrio. Rock believed that the end of the world was coming. Convincing a group of people to join his cult, they all moved to the mountainside, which they then called the Eternal Mountain. But it all came downhill from then. With each day, Rock became paranoid, cruel, and delusional. And to remain in the group, the members had to suffer these things. Sometimes Rock would hit them with a hammer. Sometimes Rock would defecate on them. When Papa Rock was in the mood, he made his members eat their feces. Or dead mice as dessert. There wasn't a punishment too cruel for this leader. He even amputated arms and legs. With all these punishment and initiations, people should wonder, why the hell would a person want to join a cult? There are many social factors like wanting to feel like you belong, feeling lost in life, and sometimes, a person has no choice because their family's already into it. Most of the time, the cult leader is charismatic. So if you see someone with the tendency, our only advice is one word: run.